We've done 4 out of our 6 possible triads. Now we get to the fun ones. If you study music theory in school, they usually teach there's 4 triads, which is the first 2 major and minor, and the 2 we're about to begin. They usually don't talk about susses until later. And I find that confusing for folks. Now there's 2 varieties of chords that do not have a perfect fifth. All 4 chords we've been doing, 1 and 5 have been staying the same, right? With major, it was a major third. With minor, it was a flatted third. Sus 2 had a 2, sus 4 had a 4, but 1 and 5 stayed the same on those chords. But in these next 2, the 1 and 5 relationship is now different. There's a non-perfect fifth, right? Okay, so the diminished chords are dissonant all by themselves. They sound dark and negative in a similar way to the minor chord, but it's more dramatic than a minor. Okay, they're sometimes considered a stopover chord to transition between 2 more important chords. In other words, a diminished chord has a certain built-in tension that makes you want to resolve it. So all by itself, it might not sound beautiful, but it typically makes a great chord in the middle of a progression of chords. Okay, now I'm just going to throw this in for fun. What I'm about to play is actually a 4-note chord. I'm going to play this on the keyboard. It's a 4-note chord that I don't want to explain right now, but it's based on the diminished with an extra note, and this is where you hear in the old silent movies when the when the villain comes in. Yes, thank you. And he goes like this here. Right? That's a diminished chord with an extra note. Okay, so it has that. Now, if I just stop there musically, there still feels like that little, ooh, the villain's still here, tension in the room. But diminished chords are used in all kinds of music. They're used in salsa music, they're used in modern rock, they're used all over the place, but they're almost not ever used by themselves. They need another chord to make them feel at peace. Okay? So now you have, what are you laughing? Because I've just anthropomorphized the chord of feeling peace or not. Yes. Okay. So our diminished formula is a 1, a flat 3, and a flat 5. Okay? Which means we've got a minor third on top of a minor third. Somebody give me a note, any note.
F.
F is a great one. You both had F? Okay, so if I make an F here, and I'm going to make an F diminished chord, an F diminished triad, I go up a minor third. Up a minor third from F is A flat's the right answer. There was some A's hoping I said the right answer on A, but it's actually A flat. Okay? So this distance right here is a minor third. Now here's where it gets fun. Here's where it gets tricky. Remember our scale rules. What's a minor third above A flat? C flat's the correct answer. Now if you look at it on the keyboard, it looks like that sneaky little B key with the beady eyes, ready to take you for a con if you're not watching him closely. The B key is also known as C flat in certain theoretical situations. Now, if all we were looking at for the moment was just A flat, and I said, what's a minor third above A flat? Well, you'd say, well, minor third's half step, 1, 2, 3, A flat, there's that B note. But a third means I have to use the third letter. So if I can't say an A flat has a minor third above it called B, because I just went from A to B, and that's only 2 letters. So I'd have to call it a C flat anyway, because there's a third, it's a third something. Okay? If I said A flat to B flat's a major second, now this is just a theoretical concept now. This next thing I'm saying doesn't apply to regular music making, it's just theory. A flat to B flat's a major second. If I augmented the second, then I could say A flat to B natural, because the second is still a B something in the letter order. Don't let that lose you if I just confused you, because it's not for regular music making. A flat to B flat's a major second. A flat to B natural is an augmented second, but we never use that word. But if you're going to call it a minor third, then you have to call it a C something. A, B, C, minor third. This is why we call it a C flat. Okay? So we've got 2 minor thirds stacked on top of each other. F, A flat, and C flat. That's why we call it that. We also call it that because in the F major scale, the C is the 5th. So it's a 5 something, which means we don't call the distance between F and C flat an augmented fourth, because the 4 of F is a B something or other. We call it a diminished fifth, because F up to C is a fifth, and we're going to flat it down to C flat. We call this a diminished fifth, or Joe's favorite, tritone. There's a tritone. We normally call it tritone. In theory, in other situations, we'll call it a diminished fifth. How many half steps in a tritone? Okay, so if this right here is 6 half steps, how many half steps in a minor third? 3. How many half steps in a minor third? 3 plus 3 is 6. Booyah. Yeah.
But what difference does it make if you call it a C flat or a B?
Now, Ginny asked, what difference does it make if you call it a C flat or a B? It's the same note, that's the same place you play it on the fretboard and the same place you play it on the keyboard. It's more of a theoretical reason that you would call it a C flat. Sometimes in day-to-day music making, I might even say, it's just a B, to avoid the confusion of why it's called a C flat. But I've used the C flat indicator over B in several musical situations along the way. So I think it's important for the concept to be understood. In day-to-day music making, if you say play an F, A flat, and a B, nobody's going to look at you weird except the geeky theory person who graduated from music school. You know, in common practice, if you say B, no problem. But if you see a C flat, you need to know what it means. Okay, so when I've done really complex orchestral scores or choral things and so forth, these things that it's saved my life having that rule at times, because there's no other way for it to make sense in some of these complex things. In day-to-day, like guitar-based music that most of us are playing, it doesn't really matter. But you need to know the concept. Okay, so let's build on the next page a couple more diminished chords. Now, I'm going to jump down just because of the way I presented it on the page. The nomenclature, the symbology of how we would describe a diminished chord, you can see on the bottom. It can be dim, D-I-M. It can also be like the degree symbol, like a little circle that's open. Okay, that also will mean diminished. Okay, so that's why you see in our little chart, you see me go back and forth between the two. So I'm going to pick on Daniel Guevara. We're going to take a shot at it. But you haven't been watching the video, so much grace to you, my friend.
So that little circle like next to the D there?
Yes.
That means diminished, right?
Yes, it means diminished. That's exactly correct.
And I was wondering too, like with this first one, the B flat diminished.
Yes.
I thought like with the formula, the first one wasn't flat. It's flat here, so does that mean I flat all of them?
That is a great question. Let me try to repeat it for the camera. When he's looking at the first column on page 48, he says, it says B flat diminished, but I thought the first one was not flatted, right? That's what you're saying. So it's 1 and flat 3 and flat 5. Now, where you're getting confused is the first thing is it's a B flat diminished chord. So we're going to use the B flat scale degree and start on the note B flat. Now B flat's the 1. Now, when you flat the 3rd or flat the 5th, you're making a change off the major scale, right? But the 1's still the 1. I totally see how you made that mistake, no problem. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Those are our scale degrees. Now help me build a B flat diminished scale. In our little chart, what would be the bottom root?
B flat.
B flat's the right answer. Now if we're just using 1, 3, and 5, what is that?
B flat.
Mm-hmm.
B flat.
D flat's the right answer for diminished.
F flat.
F flat's the right answer for diminished. Yay, that's the tricky part. Okay, this is a minor. You're thrown off by the first one. Minor third, 3 half steps, 3 half steps. We call this an F something because it's a 5. So it's a diminished 5th. There's the answer. Mr. Reed, let's do a D diminished. Would you happen to know off the top of your head a D major scale? D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D. Now, of course, I don't have to write this on if you're always seeing the scale reference sheet in front of you, which we so lovingly prepared in both PDF and printed form. Feel free to have that out if you need it. Now, we're going to use our diminished 1, flat 3, flat 5. Again, Mr. Reed, what's our root note? Yes, what's our flat third? Close. F sharp, if I take F sharp down a half step, it just becomes F natural. Yeah, you're making it more complicated than you think. It's just F, right? And then we're going to flat the fifth. So an A becomes, the G sharp counts, okay, because that is the right note on the keyboard. But I've got to make it a 5 something, which means I've got to make it an A something. D, if I just go alphabet, D, E, F, G, A, it's got to be an A something. So if I say A and take it down a half step, it becomes A flat, which is the same note as G sharp, but we want to stay consistent with the thing. There's your answer. That's a D diminished chord. Triad. It's all full attention. I'm going to go back to Mr. Hudson. Mr. Hudson, do you know the G major scale?
Oh.
I'm skipping to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th column from the left or second from the right. Yes, sir. G, A. G, A, B, C. D, E, F sharp. A. That's the G major scale. We're making a G diminished triad. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, Mr. Hudson, what's our root for G diminished?
G.
G. Now we're going to take, for the next part of our formula, we're going to take the third, boom, and flat it, as it says. So my next note is, now if you'd have said A sharp, I'd have given you candy.
A sharp.
Ah, but it's too late. But according to our rule, since it's a 3 something, we want to go G, A, B. It's got to be a B something. So we can't call it an A sharp. We got to call it a B flat. Yes, sir. Which has a minor third, 3 half steps. And then finishing this out, Mr. Hudson, we take the 5th scale degree of D and we flat it, making it D flat. But I tried that F sharp diminished, and I'm going to finally get to Bobby Price. I was going to call you Bobby Sharp.
Bobby Sharp?
Bobby Sharp. So could you tell me, Miss Bobby, because we're doing the F sharp diminished chord, what's the F sharp scale off the top of your head?
G sharp.
F sharp, G sharp.
A sharp.
A sharp. B.
C sharp.
C sharp.
D sharp.
D sharp. E sharp is our famous, controversial, shifty-eyed. You got to be careful. He'll con you out of your life savings. Our scale degrees, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Thank you for playing. Miss Bobby, what would be the root? F sharp is for the F sharp diminished. It's the 1. That's that guy. A natural. We took A sharp and we flatted it. A sharp down a half step becomes A natural. There is a natural symbol I never almost write, which is this. And it's in your notes from the prior modules, but I almost never write it. But technically, that's just to differentiate. Hey, it's not a sharp, it's a natural. Well, we don't have to have it. Okay, and 1, 3, 5. So 5 is C sharp. What's our final one? C. So if you put F sharp, A, and C down, boom, diminished triad. Everybody got it?